Yeah.
So do you think one time on Earth, like right now, we're like, yo, do giants exist? Do you think one time the whole Earth was giants and they was like, yo, do these little humans exist? I seen a little human. Was it like the opposite back then at one time? You think we were the anomaly?
Well, I think so. I mean, they came here to mine this planet for resources, and
Mm,
just like we're trying to do now. And I think that according to the tablets, they didn't mess with us for a while. There was about 250,000 years went by before they actually tinkered around with us. We were already here doing our thing, living in our small, non-technological civilizations before they decided to tinker with our DNA and put us to
mm,
work for them because they were going to go to war against each other according to the tablets. And
mm,
so they decided to genetically take us and modify us and turn us into worker bees for them. So they knew we were here, but they really didn't even, they saw us as animals. Even though we were highly intelligent in terms of our consciousness, we just weren't into technology, right? We were in sync with the planet, in sync with nature. We had bigger skulls. We know that because we found the skulls. We probably had larger pineal glands. I believe that our cousins, because that's what it would have been, because they weren't Homo sapien, that our cousins were probably far more spiritually intelligent than us and much stronger. And after the tinkering of the DNA by these people, where they fuse chromosome number 2 together, they shorten our telomeres, and then they also disconnected a lot of our DNA, which now science calls junk DNA. All those are disconnected nodes, and all that did was, and they also inserted a worship gene in human beings. We notice now it's real peer-reviewed science. There's a worship gene inside of people. It can be turned on and it can actually be turned off. They actually experimented with this in a laboratory. When they turn it off, you don't feel like you need to worship any outside source anymore. When they turn it back on, you're seeking out external confirmation. So they did this to us in order to masquerade as gods, put us to work, have us enslaved without knowing that we're slaves. So that's what happened, man. So we were just, to them in their sight, we were just puny animals. Matter of fact, Enlil was quoted as saying in the tablets several times, the humans are making too much noise. Kill them off. Starve them. He would even spray, here's the first evidence of chemtrails in history in the text. He would spray this pestilence on their fields so that their
mm,
food wouldn't grow and it would kill the food, kill the crops, so that they would die of starvation. This guy
mm,
was brutal. Matter of
mm,
fact, when the flood was coming, they had a way to avoid this flood, but Enlil didn't want to avoid it. He wanted to allow it to happen. They had the technology to shift this giant asteroid or whatever it was that was coming. But he ordered, because he was the king, that it would not, to allow it to strike and wipe everything out and start all over again. And then it says that the his relatives, Ninhursag and Enki and everybody, they moaned and groaned and they cried and they watched their creation become destroyed from space.
mm,
Crazy stuff, man.
mm. So was dinosaurs around at this time that the
Yeah,
giants were around?
good question.
Some
Yes,
people,
they
some
were.
people think the dinosaurs didn't exist. They were really dragons. Like I hear so much stuff. What's your thoughts on just dinosaurs
Yeah.
even existing?
And dinosaurs. You're talking to a person that been on actual archaeological sites and have the photos of me on archaeological dig sites.
Mm,
Yeah, a lot of the people that say these things, they haven't left their zip code, and
mm,
and I'm not trying to insult anybody, but we got to start relying on hearsay for all of our information. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Before people start talking about things, they shouldn't save up their money and buy airplane tickets and go to these sites and start digging in the ground. I spent hours, countless hours, digging in archaeological dig sites, countless hours using paintbrushes to scrape away stuff to see what's underneath. Dinosaurs are real. Matter of fact, the reason why dinosaur bones in museums have lead paint on them is because there's evidence that the bones are radioactive. They want to keep the radiation contained.
mm,
Now, why are the bones radioactive on the majority of the dinosaur bones that they find? It
mm,
means that at some point, that one strike wasn't enough to kill all the dinosaurs, that one asteroid strike, but at some point, there was some type of a war on this planet, just like the text says. There were two actually, that was nuclear. And this nuclear war, you can find that they wiped out a lot of dinosaurs, and the evidence of this nuclear war is in the bones with the higher than background noise level radiation that's in these dinosaurs' bones. So dinosaurs are real. Now, did dragons exist? It's possible, but there are all different types of levels of bones that have been found. And we know for a fact, like when I went to Cambodia, there's evidence that human beings walked along with dinosaurs. Why? Because they etched stegosauruses into their temples while they were alive with the
Mm,
meat on their bones. Not something they found on the ground that they had to, they knew what they looked like. And also they etched them into the pillars at different sites around the world, like Göbekli Tepe and other sites. And
mm,
don't forget about the era where we had all the gigantic animals, like the giant saber tooth, the gigantic sloths,
mm,
right? Sloths bigger than black bears and brown bears or grizzly bears. We
mm,
had all, we had 50-foot snakes and all these super massive gigantic animals, mega sharks and all this that we found on the planet. And that era wasn't dinosaur, that was just the explosion of mammals, and they became supersized. So why in the world wouldn't some of the people even be supersized?
right, right, right. So if giants existed today, where do you think they would most likely be, according to your, all your research you've done?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I don't think that a lot of them are the ones from like the fresh bloodline are walking around. I think
Mm,
that they have their offspring is here. And I think that every now and then, because we all have been genetically modified with their DNA, that you see remnants of that evidence of them here. You see a lot of NBA players. You see how super massive these guys are. Look at Shaquille O'Neal. Look at these guys. These guys are super massive people that are anatomically correct. In other words, they don't look like they're deformed or have any type of birth defect. They're just naturally that big. You look at Yao Ming and these other people. These are super massive people, man. Look how these NBA players move up and down that court with all that agility, speed, 36-inch vertical leap, and you're already damn near 7 feet tall or better. Look at Kevin Durant. This is all evidence of Anunnaki DNA inside of our
mm.
body. These are just remnants that pop up. You hear some people who grow 7, 8 inches in one summer and things like this. This is that remnant DNA.
Williamson did that. He grew
Right.
like had a growth spurt like in one summer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Zion Williamson is a good example. Scottie Pippen. I
Mm,
think he grew like 7, 8 inches in one summer.
mm,
You know, And so look at these guys. I mean, the evidence of these beings, is all around us. Literally, some of these NFL players. Like there's one NFL player that has 6 fingers. Right.
mm,
So a lot of the Anunnaki, they had 6 fingers. This is where the indigenous Native Americans, when you came up and you met somebody that you didn't recognize and they were big, they would go how and they would lift their hand up. And when
mm,
I talked to the Native American elders, why they would do that was that like just a greeting thing. They were like, we want to see how many fingers you had, because if you had 6 fingers, then we know you were related to the giants.
mhm.
You know, so yeah, it's a lot, man. It's the evidence of these people have been all over this planet. And the biggest evidence, you can just look at NBA basketball game. You're gonna see a lot of evidence right there,
Mhm.
and you see what color they are.
By Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson.